The night was quiet in the small town. Most families were asleep, doors locked, lights dim. But in one house, a chilling silence hung heavier than usual. The neighbors didn't know it yet, but inside, something had gone terribly wrong. Police would soon discover a scene that would shock everyone. Lina sat in her small bedroom, staring at her phone. Her hands were trembling. For weeks, she had been watching, listening, noticing things she didn't want to see. Adil, her fiancé, the man she had trusted, had been lying to her. Not small lies, but secrets. Betrayals hidden behind screens and smiles. She had found out the truth online. Through messages she was never supposed to see. Each word she read cut deeper than the last. Her heart ached, and anger began to rise. But she didn't act immediately. Instead, she stayed quiet, watching, thinking, planning. Outside, the town was asleep. Lights blinked from distant windows. Cars passed silently on empty streets. No one could imagine what was happening inside Lina's home. No. One could imagine the storm that was quietly forming. Adil didn't know Lina had discovered him. He laughed at jokes with friends, sent casual messages, and continued to act as if nothing had happened. The contrast was sharp, her world full of tension and dread. His world calm and unaware. Lina had made a choice, though she didn't fully understand it herself. She decided to reach out to Adil, using a fake account online. She pretended to be someone else, someone mysterious and charming. At first, it was just a small test, a way to see if he was still loyal. But soon, the plan took on a life of its own. Each message she sent, each reply she received, pulled her deeper into something she hadn't planned. Meanwhile, Lina's family went about their night like nothing was wrong. Her younger siblings played video games in the living room. Her parents watched television, unaware of the tension building in their own home. To them, Lina seemed quiet, perhaps a little sad. But no one could guess the storm inside her. Suddenly, Lina's phone buzzed. A message appeared, making her eyes widen. Adil had said something that revealed more than he intended. A secret she didn't know she would discover tonight. Her hands shook as she read the words again and again. Something inside her changed. Anger, betrayal, and a strange sense of control all mixed together. At the same time, across town, police received a call. A neighbor had heard strange noises from Lina's home. They didn't know if it was nothing or if it was something terrifying. Within minutes, officers were on the scene, lights flashing, hearts racing. Unsure of what they would find. The camera would later show the outside of the house quiet, dark, normal. But inside, secrets, lies, and tension had built into something that could no longer be contained. And in the quiet bedroom, Lina's mind raced, torn between heartbreak, anger, and an idea she couldn't ignore. The audience is left with a single thought. What could one person's betrayal lead to? And as the night grows darker, the storm inside Lina and in the house was about to explode. The morning after that tense night. The town seemed calm again. Birds chirped outside windows, and life went on as if nothing had happened. But inside Lina's home, the air was heavy with secrets that had only begun to surface. Lina moved quietly through her house. Her parents were busy with chores, her younger siblings laughing in the living room. She smiled at them, but it didn't reach her eyes. She felt like she was living two lives. One that everyone could see, normal and calm, and another that burned inside her, dark and restless. The night before, she had seen messages on Adil's phone, messages that proved he had been dishonest. He had been flirting, lying, making promises to someone else while pretending to love her. Lina felt her trust shatter, piece by piece. Each memory of their time together now carried a bitter sting. Instead of confronting him immediately, she created a plan. Using a fake profile online, she reached out to Adil at first. It was just curiosity. She wanted to see if he would reveal himself, how easily he could be deceived. She wasn't yet thinking about revenge. It was about understanding, seeing how deep the betrayal went. Adil, unsuspecting, responded. His words were casual at first, but gradually he shared things he hadn't shared with Lina. He laughed, complained, and admitted small secrets. With every message, he became more vulnerable to someone he believed was a stranger. As days passed, Lina's emotions twisted. Her heartbreak slowly transformed into something darker. She was no longer just observing, she was guiding him, controlling the flow of secrets. The more she learned, the more dangerous the knowledge felt. Meanwhile, her family continued their lives, blissfully unaware. Her parents reminded her of chores, asked her to help her younger siblings with schoolwork, and chatted about mundane things. Lina nodded, smiled, and went about her routine. But the tension inside her was growing, unnoticed by everyone around her. Outside, small warning signs began to appear. Neighbors noticed that Lina seemed withdrawn, sometimes talking to herself in whispers. Her older brother noticed her staring at her phone late into the night, fingers trembling. But when they asked, she brushed it off with a laugh or a vague excuse. No one could see the storm building quietly inside her. One evening, a message arrived from Adil's side that stunned Lina. He had confessed something unexpected, revealing his betrayal in a way she hadn't anticipated. Her heart pounded. Anger, hurt, and disbelief collided, leaving her speechless for a moment. She reread the message again and again, trying to comprehend the full weight of his deception. Lina's mind raced. She realized that this was no longer about discovering the truth. It was about consequences. The betrayal had gone too far. Her plan shifted from curiosity to action, though what she would do next was still uncertain. The audience, watching, feels her tension and anticipation building with each passing moment. Outside the home, a car passed slowly. A neighbor looked at the house, noticing the curtains moving strangely. There was no way to know what was happening inside, but something felt off. The quiet town had no idea that a chain of events had begun that would soon spiral out of control. As night fell again, Lina sat in her room, phone in hand, messages glowing on the screen. The audience is left with one pressing question. How far will heartbreak and betrayal push someone? And in the shadows of this seemingly normal home, the answer was beginning to take shape. Lina's plan had started as curiosity, but now it was something much bigger. Each message she sent to Adil pulled him deeper into her trap. He thought he was talking to a stranger, someone mysterious and kind. Someone who seemed to understand him better than anyone else. He shared things he had never told Lena, secrets, complaints, even plans he had been hiding. The more he revealed, the more Lena's emotions twisted inside her. Hurt and anger were still there, but now they were mixed with a strange sense of power. She felt like she was finally in control of a situation that had hurt her so badly. She didn't yet know what she would do next, but the anticipation made her heart race. Adil's messages became longer, more personal. He laughed with the fake persona, vented his frustrations, and admitted things he would never have shared with anyone else. Lina read each one carefully, rereading phrases to catch every detail. She wasn't cruel at least not yet, but the betrayal had sparked something in her that she could not ignore. Meanwhile, her family continued their lives, blissfully unaware. Her younger siblings played in the living room, their laughter echoing through the house. Her parents were busy with chores and small talk. To everyone outside, Lina seemed normal, quiet perhaps, but nothing alarming. Only Lina knew how dangerous the quiet could be. The tension in the house grew. Small things began to seem strange. Doors left open that should have been closed. The faint sound of footsteps in the hallways when no one was there. Shadows that moved faster than her own. Lina began to notice the subtle details of her environment. The house felt different now. Heavier, like it was watching her. As the catfish game escalated, Adil revealed plans that could not be ignored. He spoke carelessly about trips, meetings, and personal secrets, believing he was safe with a stranger. Lina's pulse quickened. She realized that he had left a trail that could connect her, the messages, and the truth. And if anyone followed it, everything would unravel. The audience can feel her inner conflict. The desire for revenge, the ache of betrayal, and the growing fear of consequences. Each message becomes a turning point. Each reply a step closer to something irreversible. One evening, a message arrived that shocked Lina. Adil had admitted something bigger than anything she had expected, something that could not be ignored. It was a slip, a careless reveal of his true intentions. and it lit a fire inside her. She leaned back in her chair, phone in hand, mind spinning. Her heartbeat echoed in the quiet room. Outside, the neighborhood was calm, but there were subtle warnings. A neighbor noticed lights on late at Lina's house, shadows moving behind curtains. Another heard a quiet argument, words that didn't seem normal. Yet no one could see what was truly happening. The tension, the planning, the storm building in Lina's mind. By now, Lina was no longer just observing. She was guiding, controlling, and waiting. She had learned too much, and her emotions were too strong. The line between curiosity and action had blurred. She didn't yet know the exact steps she would take. But one thing was certain: the world around her would never be the same. The night grew darker, the house colder. Lina sat silently, reading Adil's words again and again. She felt the weight of what she had discovered, and the power of what she could do. The audience is left with a chilling thought. How far can one person be pushed before they cross the line? And as the shadows lengthened, the answer was about to reveal itself. The house seemed ordinary on the outside. Curtains swayed gently in the evening breeze. Lights glowed softly from the windows. But inside, the tension was unbearable. Lina's emotions had shifted completely. The betrayal she felt had festered into something deeper. Something that threatened to touch everyone in her life. Her family went about their evening routines. Her younger siblings played games in the living room, laughing at silly mistakes and shouting at the TV. Her parents were in the kitchen, discussing work and groceries. Everything seemed normal, but Lina's eyes caught every detail. Every movement, every sound, every conversation felt different now, as if the ordinary had become dangerous. The catfishing plan had given Lina insight into Adil's secrets, and she now understood how easily people could be deceived. But she hadn't anticipated how quickly things might spiral beyond her control. She realized that her actions, though aimed at Adil, could have consequences she never imagined. Late that evening, the phone buzzed again. Adil had written something reckless, careless, revealing even more than before. Lina's heart raced as she read the words. They spoke of plans, of places, of people who might get hurt if the secrets she held were exposed. The line between digital betrayal and real-world danger was blurring. As Lina sat with her thoughts, she began to notice small, strange occurrences in her own home. Doors that were usually locked were ajar. Footsteps echoed in hallways where no one walked. Shadows moved in corners, and faint noises seemed louder than they should have been. Her heart pounded as fear mingled with anger. Something was coming, and she could feel it. Her family remained unaware. Her younger brother grabbed a snack from the kitchen and teased her older sister. Her parents smiled, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside their home. To them, Lina was just a little withdrawn, a little tense, but nothing alarming. They had no idea that secrets, betrayal, and obsession had created a dangerous chain reaction. Outside, the neighborhood seemed peaceful. A stray dog barked at the moon, and distant voices carried faintly on the wind, but the tranquility was deceptive. Something had shifted in Lina's home, and the normal rhythms of life were about to be broken. As the night wore on, Lina's mind raced. She knew the consequences of her actions could reach far beyond what she intended. Adil's careless admissions had created opportunities she hadn't imagined, and the thought that her family, people she loved deeply, could be caught in the fallout sent a chill down her spine. For the audience, the tension is palpable. Every small sound, every shadow, every movement in the house feels significant. The story builds suspense, not through violence, but through anticipation. Viewers are aware that danger is close, even if the characters aren't by midnight. Lina sat alone in her room, phone glowing in the dark. Messages from Adil stared back at her, tempting and terrifying at the same time. Her mind replayed every betrayal, every deceitful smile, every hidden conversation. She realized that she could not control the situation anymore. The stakes had risen, and her family was now unknowingly at risk. And then, a sudden knock at the door froze her in place. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it was enough. Lina's heartbeat thundered in her chest as she hesitated, unsure whether to answer. The audience, caught in the tension, wonders, Who is there? What will happen next? The night had only just begun, and the storm inside Lina's house was about to break. The ordinary, peaceful home had become a stage for secrets, lies, and unforeseen danger. And the question on everyone's mind: how far would betrayal push someone before tragedy struck? The house was quiet, too quiet. Outside, the moon cast silver light on the empty street. Inside, Lina sat on her bed, phone in hand, heart racing. The knock from earlier had stopped, but the unease it brought lingered. Every creak, every whisper of wind, made her jump. Her family continued their routines, oblivious to the tension. Her younger siblings giggled over a late-night game, while her parents discussed plans for the weekend. Lina's eyes darted toward the living room, imagining what could happen if the tension she felt turned real. A chill ran down her spine as she realized just how close danger now was. Earlier, Adil's messages had revealed more than he knew: plans, meetings, hints of where he would be and when. Lina had tracked everything carefully, thinking she could control the situation. But tonight, the sense of power she once felt had shifted into fear. Her family could be caught in a storm she hadn't intended. The audience feels the tension growing. Every small sound, the faint rattle of a door, the tapping of a branch against the window, becomes ominous. Suspense builds as viewers anticipate what could happen next. Suddenly, the phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared. Lina's hands shook as she read it. The words were vague but threatening. "We know about what's happening. Be careful." Her heart thumped. Who could know? The message confirmed her fears. The situation was no longer just between her and Adil. Others were involved, and the consequences could reach her loved ones. In the living room, her parents laughed at a joke from the television. Her siblings shouted in excitement as their game reached a critical level. Everything seemed normal, but Lina could sense the fragile calm breaking. Something unseen was moving toward her family. Time slowed as she debated what to do. Should she call the police? Should she warn her family? Her thoughts raced, each decision feeling heavier than the last. And then, a sound broke the quiet: a door opening somewhere in the house. Softly at first, then with more certainty. The audience is kept on edge. No one is hurt yet, but danger is imminent. The tension comes from anticipation, not graphic detail. Lina crept toward the source of the sound, each step careful, silent. Her pulse was deafening in her ears. A shadow moved across the hall. Lina froze. She could see nothing clearly, only the outline of someone unfamiliar, raw, maybe someone she thought she knew. Panic surged through her, but she forced herself to remain calm. Every instinct screamed at her to protect her family. Outside the house, distant sirens began to wail. Someone had called. Was it a neighbor, a passerby, or a consequence of Lina's own actions? The sound seemed both a relief and a warning. Time was running out by the end of the night. Chaos had swept through the home, but the story is told from the perspective of tension, fear, and uncertainty, rather than graphic violence. Police would later arrive to piece together what happened. Neighbors would talk in hushed voices, and Lina would face the weight of the choices she had made. The audience is left with a chilling thought: how quickly a situation can spiral out of control when emotions, secrets, and betrayal collide. And as dawn approaches, questions remain unanswered. Who is responsible? Could tragedy have been prevented? And most importantly, how does one cope when everything familiar is suddenly threatened? Morning light slowly filtered through the curtains, casting a pale glow over Lina's home. The tension of the previous night still lingered like a heavy fog. Outside, the neighborhood seemed peaceful again, but inside, the house carried the echoes of fear, secrets, and uncertainty. The police had arrived hours ago. Officers moved carefully through the rooms, taking notes, asking questions, piecing together what had happened. They were calm, professional, but even they could feel the weight of the events that had unfolded. Lina sat quietly, her hands clasped, watching as strangers tried to understand a story that had gone far beyond ordinary problems. Her family, shaken but safe, huddled together. Her parents spoke in low voices, trying to make sense of the chaos, while her younger siblings clung to each other. The relief of safety was tempered by the realization of how fragile normal life could be. One wrong choice, one secret, could almost destroy everything they loved. Adil's involvement became clear as investigators reviewed messages and online activity. The catfishing, the secrets, the careless words, all pieces of a puzzle that showed betrayal had consequences far beyond what anyone could imagine. The audience sees how a single act of deception can ripple outward, affecting many lives. Lina's emotions were complex. Relief mingled with guilt, anger, and sorrow. She realized how quickly curiosity and heartbreak could spiral into something dangerous. She had intended to expose betrayal, but the chain of events had grown beyond her control. The story was no longer about just her, and Adil. It was about the human cost of secrets, lies, and emotional decisions. The investigators explained the lessons clearly. Online deception, unchecked emotions, and betrayal could have real-world consequences. Even though no one was physically harmed in the incident, the emotional impact lingered. Relationships had been strained, trust had been broken, and the family would never forget the fear of that night. Neighbors gathered quietly outside, speaking in hushed tones. They shared stories of small signs they had noticed: lights on late, shadows in the windows, faint noises that seemed unusual. Everyone realized how fragile safety could be, and how easily a normal life could be disturbed by secrets and unchecked emotions. For Lina, the aftermath was also a moment of reflection. She thought about her choices, the steps she had taken, and the feelings that had driven her. She understood that betrayal, heartbreak, and curiosity could push people toward decisions they would regret. It was a lesson she would carry forever. A reminder of how delicate trust truly is. The audience is left with a powerful thought. Human emotion, heartbreak, anger, and betrayal can have consequences far beyond what we ever expect. One decision, even with good intentions or out of curiosity, can ripple outward, affecting everyone around us. By the end of the day, the family tried to return to normal routines. The laughter of siblings slowly returned, cautious smiles appeared on parents' faces, and Lina found herself sitting quietly, thinking. The storm had passed, but the lessons remained. Trust, honesty, and awareness had never felt more important. The story closes on a reflective note. Secrets and betrayal may tempt people to act, but every action carries consequences. The night of fear, suspense, and revelation had changed lives forever, but it also taught a powerful lesson about human emotions, choices, and the fragile balance of trust.